Meldon Law and Friends. I'm Jeffrey Meldon, founder and attorney at Meldon Law, and we're glad you're here to watch and listen to our podcast today. We have a great guest who's really been influential in helping folks who are injured in the Columbia County, Lake City area. Chris Samson will be with us in just a few minutes. I want to cover a few things that are going on in North Central Florida and see what we can do to help get you guys some tickets and some free gifts and swag. Number one, we want to let you know that on Meldon Law's Facebook page, we're constantly giving away tickets. Now, right now, the hottest ticket in this part of the world is Lady Gator Gymnastics. It sells out every match, and there's only 5 matches a year. This coming Friday is a big match against a top-ranked Alabama team that is going to be sold out. If you go to Facebook and Meldon Law, you will find the way to win tickets for the gymnastic event, as well as basketball. A men's basketball team is on a roll. We've got home games coming up, and they are absolutely fantastic. Great atmosphere. Women's basketball. Tonight we're getting the game ball, and they're going to do a presentation before the game, so we're very excited about that. And everything is really all about you folks within the community. What we want to do is support the organizations that are in our community, as well as deliver top-notch client experience for those people that unfortunately are in an accident and need our help. We have been doing accident cases in North Central Florida since 1971, from Columbia County, Lake City, to Gainesville, to Ocala. We have offices all of there serving. Basically, it's all the communities on I-75 from the Florida, Georgia, down to the villages is our focus, although we handle cases all over the state. We handle serious accident cases for people whose lives have been turned upside down. Couple other things that are going around right now is our Fan Fest. So the Gymnastics Fan Fest is coming up pretty soon, January 26th, from 5 p.m. to 6:45. You can come by the practice court inside the O-Dome and spin the Wheel of Fortune, and you will win some free Gator swag. Very exciting. So if any of you have not been to a gymnastics event, they're incredible. Last year, the Gators came within 1/10 of 1 point of being the national champion. So check them out. They have a great team again this year. Men's basketball Fan Fest this coming Saturday, January 26th at the O-Dome. From 10:30 till 12. So it's an early game, a noon game Saturday. You can see the men's basketball team, and it'll be a lot of fun. The early games are different. The good thing is you get to see the team. The games are over by 2 o'clock, and you can still have the rest of the day to go out and do some more fun things. So remember, ticket giveaways at the Facebook page. We also want to invite everybody to come visit us at any of our offices, Gainesville, Ocala, Lake City, and we'll be glad to give you some swag. We always keep some of our tumblers or hats or other neat things that we have. We have lots of cool shirts that we'll be glad to give to you and let you enjoy them. We're the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, and as a result, we get to score really good tickets and have some great Gator gear that we can give away and share with the community. If you have any community organization information you'd like to share, just call Meldon Law or email us. Phone number is 352-373-8000 or meldonlaw.com if you want to visit us on our website. Let us know if there's some way that we can help to promote what you're doing. We believe in serving our community, and for those folks that are in need of our services, we promise you a first-class client experience. We call it the Meldon Law Ritz-Carlton experience. Give it a try. A lot of folks that come to us have had their case with other law firms, and they don't get callbacks. They don't know what's going on. They're frustrated. They're a little bit disillusioned. We're going to change all that. If you happen to need our help, give us a call. It's free. The only fee we charge is in the event that we win your case. And if we take your case and there's insurance, there's a 99% chance that we will get that case resolved favorably and give you an opportunity to use the money to get yourself back on your feet. Because as many folks know, serious accidents do create family stress, turn your life upside down. Can you imagine what it's like when your car is taken away from you and you're seriously injured and you can't get to doctor's appointments? We solve that. Give us a call. Give us a try. We're going to take a short break on Meldon Law and Friends, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Jeffrey, what are you doing?
Well, I'm joining the band, of course. Since Meldon Law is the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, I want to help.
Dad, we're litigators. Let's stick to helping people in the courtroom.
Well, can we still hang out and jam a little bit? At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
I was going down a one-way street and a girl that was driving her car T-boned me on my scooter. I ended up going for an MRI and discovering that I had 2 herniated discs. Coming to Cary allowed me to not have to worry about what doctor I was going to see or what physical therapist I had to go to. They say, these are the people we trust. You're going to have a great experience there, and I honestly did each time.
Call Meldon Law. Your consultation is absolutely free.
I was driving behind a lady, and very suddenly she moved out of the way. There was a log laying in the road, and when I hit my brakes, I went on top of the log. I had 2 herniated discs. I just haven't been the same since. Jeffrey Meldon fought for me all the way. Him and his team really went there for me. Throughout the whole lawsuit, he made sure that my bills was paid. It was never no whenever I called him and asked him for something.
Call Meldon Law right now.
And I was in an accident. Someone ran a red light and hit me, and I was hurt. You don't know where to turn. Luckily, I called Jeffrey. These big insurance companies, they don't want you to win. They truly don't. But Jeffrey and his firm and the people that work here, they just really fight for you. You call the law offices of Jeffrey Meldon because you're going to need help, and they will help you.
Call Meldon Law right now.
Hey, Sammy, look who's there. Say hi.
Hey!
You again!
Meldon Law, Jeffrey speaking.
Jeffrey!
Somebody else hit us here.
Yeah.
Here we go again. Welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends. I'm Jeffrey Meldon. I'm here with my good friend Chris Samson. Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Jeffrey. Thank you for having me today.
Well, thank you for joining us on Meldon Law and Friends. And
Yes, sir.
so you're our main transport guy in the Lake City area, right?
Yes, sir.
So why don't you tell our folks a little bit about what you do? And it's called CMS Professional Transport. So your name is Chris Samson, so the C and the S might have to do with
Has
that.
a lot to do with it. I've been on with Michael. So yes, it does.
Okay, so we got Chris Michael Sampson, CMS.
Christopher Michael Sampson, that's correct.
That's it. Professional trans. So what do you transport?
We transport non-emergency patients. 90% of the patients we transport are hospital discharges. We transport from the major hospital in Lake City, several of them here in Gainesville. The primary focus being on patient care and getting there on time. Communication is key here. There's so many variables that changes your times. As long as you communicate that, you're good to go. I mean,
you're saying folks who are in the hospital who are being discharged.
Correct.
That's a large part. What about people that are, say, in a nursing home and they have to go to doctor's appointments?
we typically don't do those. We have in the past. We just are busy with so many other discharges, and that's typically the first priority. And so we typically don't mess with those a whole lot. But most of ours are, like I said, discharges, and we run 24/7, so we're constantly rolling.
Yeah, I know you were telling me you have 40 some drivers, and because they can't obviously work 24 hours a day. However, the hospital is discharging 24
They
hours a
are,
day.
and that's a lot of people don't think about it. The layperson may not realize that the ERs are running wide open all day long, 24/7. So that's important for them to keep things rolling. Not just Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
So why would people who have a friend or relative, at the hospital at the time of discharge need to have a transport service?
Well, many times families not able to due to the patient being via stretcher or wheelchair. They may not. It may be a newly diagnosed type situation, or they're going back to a nursing home. So there's a lot of variables, and again, it may be at 2 a.m. and families asleep. So hospitals call us, we load the patients up, keep them informed of everything going on, and get them back home or back to another facility.
What's the difference between your vehicles and an ambulance?
Our vehicles do not have the sirens, the lights. It doesn't have the first aid type stuff as far as for basic life support. We do transport oxygen, but it's no emergent care. That's the biggest difference.
Right. So the ambulances, when they try to pick up the pieces on the side of the highway, you need an ambulance because you're trying to keep them alive until they can get to.
And that keeps them free as well. So these require less licensure. Doesn't require the licensing that any BLS or ALS ambulance requires. So you don't have to have an RN, LPN, or paramedic to operate, and it frees them up to take care of the true emergencies.
So when folks go to the hospitals, they need to get back home.
Correct.
And now, when say somebody's in a stretcher or wheelchair, do you drive them to their home and help them get into the home as well?
Oh, yes. I realize that a lot of the competition, if you will, is door to door. We are bed to bed. I mean, we pick them up from the bed, take them to the bed. And I'm a nurse by trade, so it's got to be that way. It's make sure the patient's comfortable, get them situated, and move on to the next.
You can't dump them off on the curb.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
Some folks would like to because it's faster, but
it is faster, but
it doesn't make sense.
It's safety.
Right. I mean, if they're in a condition where they need a transport vehicle to get home, being home is you getting into their bedroom and getting comfortable and set up. How did you get into the nursing profession?
Well, it started when I was in high school, actually. My younger brother, baby brother, we're about 10 years apart. I was in high school, and he'd been diagnosed with a congenital heart condition, aortic stenosis. Then he required surgery. And watching him lay there in the ICU bed helpless, all the tubes hooked up, he was unconscious. He was intubated, and it seemed like as a high schooler, 30 poles hooked up to him, and just praying to God that he'd get through it. And the people that were there to save his life and bring him to the promised land, as I felt that moment, were the nurses. The doctors go and do the voodoo that they do, but then the nurses came in and made sure we were taken care of. But in addition, they saved my brother at that age. As you get
how
older.
How old was your brother at the time?
5. No, he must have been 6. Yeah.
So he was just a young little.
He was a young lad. Yeah.
Young lad. So you got inspiration watching.
I got inspiration. Yeah. It touched me in a way that I had to that point had never been touched by a single profession. And after I graduated high school, I went on and started working in a cluster home in Lake City, and that was a whole different kind of clientele, different mentally challenging patients, and I learned a lot there and went and worked psych unit, and I'd applied for nursing school and went to nursing school and graduated in 95 as an RN, and it kind of started the wheel running watching him. So
yeah. Now, how long did you work in a hospital setting? Or
oh yes.
Tell us about that. What was it like?
I was exciting. It was very exciting for me. I enjoyed working. I started out in psychiatric medicine. I worked as a tech at both Meridian and Lake City. It wasn't Meridian at the point at that moment, and Lake City Medical Center used to have a psych unit. And at that point, I graduated nursing school, worked some home care, worked in a couple hospitals, worked down in DeLand for a little bit, and then I got the itch. That itch is that adrenaline rush of being in an ICU. And I did my time, did what I needed to do in ICU, and worked, did a little PRN in the ER, and it was the biggest high I'd ever had. I loved it. And I went working, in a 14-day period, I would work 7 days, or I'd work 13 out of the 14 between 2 hospitals, and I was just full of it. Yeah.
So you weren't afraid of burning yourself out.
No, it was a high, just constantly.
Yeah, I know in an ICU, there's nonstop action.
There
right?
is. There is. And there's a camaraderie amongst the nurses, You may not get a lunch all the time, and some days are a little slower, but a lot of times it's just wide open. And it's something amazing when the families come in and thank you for the lives that you saved and helped out. So
for those of you that are listening, ICU is, intensive care unit.
Correct.
And when you watch the the medical shows on TV, then, that saying elsewhere, it started a long time ago, and then there's been hundreds of TV shows. Right. Usually, though, they're not up in the rooms because that's kind of boring compared to what's going on.
Exactly.
People are just kind of laying there hooked up waiting for, to see their nurse in a couple hours or whatever.
Right.
But the ICU is where the action is because you're saving lives. Right. And you have to make instantaneous decisions on what to do next.
Right. And one of the bigger decisions for me in that, on the floor at the time, you would have 10 to 12, maybe even 15 patients that you were in charge of. In an ICU setting, no more than 3, usually 2, and sometimes 1. So you knew everything about that patient, everything. As a floor nurse, it was a little more difficult to have all that information on all 12 patients. And it's a bit much.
However, if they were on the floor, they weren't in critical condition.
Correct.
So if you didn't see them for every 20 or 30 or 40 minutes, whatever your schedule was,
correct,
it was the risk to the patient was minimal.
Exactly.
And they have the magic button that they can hit in
To
the
call us
event.
To call us in to help them
call
out.
you in.
Exactly.
Right, exactly. So how long did you work in the ICU?
I worked for a good 3-4 years, and then I started CMS professional staffing in 1999, and I continued to work in the ICU at night and run the business during the day, which, trust me, was a very trying time trying to sleep during calls, and did that for about a year, I guess, till we got super slammed, and it's just no physically way possible for me to do it anymore.
So you were staffing. So what were you doing? Recruiting nurses? And folks
We were recruiting
like that?
nurses, and we were staffing hospitals, nursing homes, and it led into us staffing prisons. And we got very quickly very popular throughout the entire state. We were staffing the entire state of Florida, especially in the prison system. At one point, we were staffing over 500 nurses. So we were doing
I
pretty
mean,
well.
for those of you listening, if you don't know, up in North Florida, North Central Florida, there are a lot of prisons.
There's a lot.
And there's the Lake Butler Medical and Reception Center, right? I imagine they were a busy client for you.
Yes, we did a lot, built a very good reputation with the prisons, but we built good reputation with all the nurses. It's a whole lot different when you're a nurse and you can talk the talk with the people you employ, and also the people you're doing business with. Nurses can see right through BS, quite honestly. That they like to be able to know that you're talking the talk and you've been there before, so you understand their problems.
It's interesting you say that, Chris, because we've all been to doctors, and there's a big difference between the nurses. Some of them, after your visit, you feel like they're your best friend, and then others, you didn't really get a connection with.
Right. So the doctors come in, and they, at best, and this is at best, you'll see them for 15 minutes a day, and that's at best. Usually it's more like 3. But the nurses are there around the clock, and a lot of times they work 20 or 12, typically 12-hour shifts. So for 12 hours, you're theirs, and they're yours. And all the needs and everything, and a lot of times the nurses will fill a lot of times the nurses are the cliff notes for the doctors. They come in and house the patient with the report, and we give them the quick rundown. This happened last night. The family came in, social issues, medical issues, things that you can't find in the chart. The nurse is the one that fills the gap. So nursing is the most underrated profession in all of, in everything. And it will always get kudos from me. It's the most versatile job out there. And I'm not trying to be a nurse recruiter or anything, but I can tell you everything from school teachers to in the large corporate world, there's nurses everywhere and at all pay levels. It's the best couple years you'll ever spend.
Well, thank you very much for filling us in on that.
Yes,
I
sir.
know when a lot of times we'll have clients call us and they're in hospital setting, and so I get to go to hospitals, and you kind of look around, you can see which hospitals do it best, and
Oh, yes.
And also what I understand is like the nurses on the floor get to know their doctors, because each doctor
Yes, they
has
do.
a different style, right?
They do. Each doctor has their ins and outs. Everybody has, and doctors have their preferred nurses that they like to turn to, they trust more, and that comes with time and longevity and getting to know the doctors and them trusting one another. So yes, the patients get to know them, but more importantly, the doctors like to be able to lean on people. Just like any business, you have your star employees that you can trust, and you know that no matter what, they're going to have your back. Doctors have the same relationship with nurses.
Yeah, obviously a doctor can't spend an hour doing a background, investigation on
Right.
someone. Where the nurse is, if a patient's there for a couple days, that nurse and the team, because they rotate probably, 3 shifts in a day.
2 to 3, yeah. Typically it's 12-hour shifts, but yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. A lot of people like nursing because you can do 12-hour shifts and do
Exactly.
3 days on and
3 days on. At one of my positions in Lake City, when I worked in the ICU, I'd work 6 12s and off for 8. So that was nice, and it would have been nice if I'd have taken that 8 off, but I worked 6 or 7 of the 8. So, but yeah, it was a great schedule. And if you talk to people that work in most other fields, they couldn't imagine working 6 12s scheduled. Now, 12, especially on the weekend, was very, very much a moving target. It was more so 12 to 14 to 16 hours on
Right.
It got busy.
When someone's sick and they can't show up,
Right.
they call Chris and say, "Hey, Chris, you want to pick up a few extra hours here?"
Right.
And you were the Energizer buddy. How did you get into the transport business?
Well, we saw a need for the transport. We took a long look at it, and obviously being a nurse, you see the transport vehicles and the transport drivers coming in, and in our area, people would come in with jeans around their butts and or pass her behind, and no uniforms, no professionalism. Vans were dirty. And I thought, how would I want my grandmother? How would I want my mother to be? How would I want to be transported? And so we decided to put our stake down. And when we did that, it was funny because we went to a big meeting in one of the hospitals in Lake City, and they had all the other transport companies there, and they thought we were some corporate conglomerate because we were dressed to the nines, logo church. We had logoed vans, so they thought we only had 3 vans. Actually, at that time, we only had 1 van, and they thought we were coming to do this massive takeover. No, I'm a homegrown guy, but I know how I wanted my family to be transported, and they just thought we were coming in to take over the world.
You were, but
we weren't from corporate.
But you were starting with 1 and going to 2,
right.
and now you're up to 9 or 10,
Right. Yes, sir.
and you got 40 guys running around. And what's amazing is that in a community like Lake City, Columbia County, there's that much action going on.
There is a lot in Lake City. We also do a lot down here in Gainesville, a lot in North Florida, at Cheyenne. So we're very proud to be partnered with all of these hospitals. It says a lot, and we've had very much a long history with all of them. So we're very happy to be doing business with all of them. It speaks to your heart when you get called on and we get compliments, and it's that communication. It comes down to communication.
Well, so, I know most people don't get to choose who their transport company is.
Correct.
Okay.
They don't.
However, you will notice the difference, with CMS Professional Transport and our good friend Chris Samson. Normally I ask people for how do they contact you if they want to contact your business, but it doesn't apply, does it?
Not really. It doesn't really apply. We're reached out to by the hospital.
They'll reach out to you, but we're very proud to have folks that care. That at Meldon Law, we try to create a client experience that's exceptional, and it sounds like that's what you're doing.
Yes, indeed. You have to listen. In any business, we all have one thing in common. Every business, whether people want to acknowledge it or not, we have one. We solve problems. Now, how do we solve them? How do we deal with roadblocks? Is it just a roadblock, or do we go around it? Do we figure out a way around it and make their lives better, and easier for the nurses, for the patients, and same thing with Meldon, I'm sure. I mean, we take care of, y'all take care of problems as well. And so that's the difference in good business and great businesses, is recognizing we solve problems.
Well, I couldn't have said it any better. Our time is up today. I could keep chatting with you for a long time, Chris. However, I want to thank you for what you do in our community, what you do to help the folks that need the help the most.
Yes, sir.
And that I wish you great success. I know your son's in your business with you.
Oh, yes. He handles most everything nowadays.
And we can. What's your son's name?
Vinny.
Vinny. So we'll let Vinny do the 60 and 80-hour weeks.
Yes, sir, he can.
And
he
let
can have all that.
Pops can do a regular old 40-hour week and feel like he's retired.
Getting there, not quite.
Well, anyhow, thank you very much for joining us on Meldon Law and Friends, and we'll see you next week with another great visit and episode. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Okay, buddy.